So, I need to start this podcast in a strange way. I had every intention of coming here and apologizing because at the end of last week's episode, I had said...
You had talked about John Krasinski.
Yeah, and I said how excited I was to see a John Krasinski movie.
Does this count as a John Krasinski movie?
Well, so...
That's what you're going to say.
So at the beginning of the movie, I was like, no, crap, I don't know what happened. I don't know why I thought John Krasinski was in it. But then, he was a cameo.
So does a cameo make it a John Krasinski movie? No, it does not.
So at least it justifies the fact that what I think happened is when we did the Quiet Place episode, yes, I'm plugging a previous episode, please go listen, we had said that this was the first movie that John Krasinski and Emily Blunt had been in together. But however, this was the first movie that John Krasinski and Emily Blunt was in together, and I think I must have found that in my research back then. But I didn't actually click on what his part was.
So it was himself for 4 seconds. It's kind of like the Deadpool 2
But
Brad
I'm still
Pitt
not wrong. So
cameo
still
as the
not
Invisible Man. It doesn't really count.
I mean, I guess the listeners can decide on that, but guys, like, it counts. So, anyways, I'm Shay.
I'm Tyler.
And this is Cinematically Correct. And I told you we were gonna do a not deep movie, and I succeeded. So we're doing The Muppets, the 2011 version, because when I did Audience Ask, you all asked me if it was going to be the 70s version or the 2011 version, which, guys, there's more than just two versions, so it was a very confusing distinction, but...
Well, the Muppets movie is two versions, but then there's a bunch of spin-offs that exist.
Lots of them.
Billions of them. Space, Manhattan...
Christmas Carol.
Crime, like Most Wanted.
Yeah, that's the sequel to this movie,
yeah.
But yes. Mm-hmm.
So there are all kinds of Muppet movies, but only two...
The Muppets movies.
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, before we get into, like, the movie, I know I'm going to forget to mention this, and I feel like we need to. So, this year, 2019, is the 40th anniversary of the 70s version of the Muppets movie. So, you guys are going to be listening to this well after we've recorded it, because we're pre-recording, but on the day you're listening, yesterday, the 70s version of the movie will have been re-released in the theater. So they're doing a re-release. They're doing it on July 25th and July 30th.
It's already out in select theaters. I looked it up.
Oh, is it? Okay, well, what I looked up was it said July 25th and July 30th at 12 and at 7. They're going to be releasing it. And I actually am kind of interested to go. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, this whole movie, like, brought back, like, childhood
nostalgia.
Happiness, and I just love it. So I'm, like, kind of down for it. We're going to be on our honeymoon, but I'm, like, also down for, like, having the Muppets come on our honeymoon.
Really?
You also are. So, like, I don't know why you said really, because I could totally see in your face.
You just sent me the trailer for the Jason Segal, Amy Adams love story movie that just then has Muppets in it halfway through the trailer.
It's a spoof trailer. We'll discuss it. There's a lot of spoof trailers. Like, a lot of them. I sent you one. So we'll get into that. We will talk about that, I promise. But I'm just saying, I'm down for it. So, I mean, the Muppets come on Shay and Tyler's honeymoon. Sounds like a great new movie.
No.
Yes.
No.
But anyways, so you can go into a brief synopsis.
Brief synopsis.
Brief synopsis.
A pair of half-brothers, one a Muppet, one person, which I don't know how that works.
I mean, I really don't want to think about it too hard, I'm not going to lie.
It's a kids movie, so it's going to be a kids podcast. Not going to delve into that.
Oh, no, it's not. We have an audience ask question that needs to be addressed that is not kid-related.
Okay.
That is a PSA right now, guys. If you're listening to this with your kids, there is a moment, I will stop before we say it, that your kids will need to cover their ears.
All right, so they grow up together in a small town called Small Town. Of course it is. And the Muppet puppet child is a fan of the Muppets, and he goes to Los Angeles on his brother's 10-year anniversary with his girlfriend, which, that's a trap. And it's all about trying to save the Muppet Theater that is being purchased by an oil tycoon that wants to demolish it and drill for oil.
Yeah, sounds about right.
That's the movie. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So do you want to go through the plot? Or
I want to address the glaring plot hole.
The glaring plot hole, okay.
So in the previous Muppet movie, it was a similar plot to save the theater, and in the end of the movie, it was named a national landmark so that no one can demolish it. Mm-hmm. So in the previous movie, it's already protected, and there's no way around it, which they can't.
But I mean, this is a totally new, like, whole staff doing this. I mean, Frank Oz isn't involved in this movie. I can't even remember. Obviously, Jim Henson is clearly not involved in this movie. So I feel like just let it go.
Right.
Okay, so let's just talk about a few of the people. Obviously, we can't talk about everyone that's in the movie because there's a lot of people in this movie.
Half of them are just cameos, though.
Yes, but there's a lot of them. So Jason Segal plays Gary, who is the human brother of the Muppet who wants to go see the Muppets. I guess. The
puppet that wants to see the Muppets. It's going to get very confusing.
Yeah, it's going to get real confusing. But anyway, so first of all, Jason Segal, I at first thought that this was like a joke type thing because of like the beginning song where it's like everything is happy and like joyous, and I don't think I've ever seen him in a kids movie before. Like,
no.
I don't know if I have. I mean, I'm sure he's voiced cartoons and things like that before, but actually seen him, I don't think so. And it almost seemed like a parody, but then I was totally down for it. Like, after, like, the first song and, like, the jarring, like, oh, okay, this is, like, him being serious.
Well, he's a huge Muppet fan, as it turns out, and wanted to make this movie more than basically anything because he felt the younger generations had missed out on the Muppets, which is a lovely sentiment because Muppets are about as wholesome and kid-friendly as possible.
Until the Muppets TV show, but yes. Mm-hmm.
Well, okay, but
and it's a huge part of my childhood. I'm assuming he's probably a little bit older than us, but not by much. I don't actually know how old he is. It says he was born in 1980, so he's 8 years older than me. So that makes sense because it was about when he's about my brother's age, and that was a huge
30s.
thing for my brother.
Yeah.
So I'm so happy that he brought it back. Now, Jason Segal was the person who pitched this movie to Disney and was also one of the writers.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that's really all we have to say about him, I would think. Amy Adams, one of the most adorable people literally ever. And I love how they gender bent her role. I don't think there was a purpose to it. I just thought it was cute.
Well, it was just a breaking stereotypes because
they can.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she was basically like a shop teacher.
No, she was an actual teacher, but she was teaching her students how to rebuild an engine somehow. Yes.
And just to keep with gender bending, Jason Segal was the person who did all of the sewing, right. I think they mentioned. So I think that's adorable. And I love her character. She just is quirky and weird. It's just adorable.
Also, how do you not see that if you're going on a 10-year anniversary trip with your girlfriend, that she's not expecting you to...
Bring your brother?
Well, she's definitely expecting you to leave your brother at home. She's also expecting you to ask her to marry you. After 10 years, like, that's just...
On your anniversary?
Well, not on the... But at some point, that...
Maybe. I mean, 10 years, I do believe, is the diamond. It's like, you know, like they have, like, every anniversary, you're supposed to have a certain gem or rock or whatever. I think 10 is diamond. Anyways, okay, Chris Cooper plays Tex Richmond, which I read this part was actually written for Alan Rickman.
Yes.
I don't know why he didn't take it, because this movie was done before his death. Alan Rickman died in 2016, and this movie was 2011.
Probably because it involved him rapping.
Do you think so?
I don't know, but...
I think he would have been amazing in this role. Better than this guy. I don't actually know this guy at all.
Well, he's in a couple movies. He's in The Bourne Identity, the original.
Okay, well, I mean, he did nothing for me.
Okay.
I'm just letting
the
rap
rap was incredibly uncomfortable.
Yes, it was super uncomfortable. Other than that, there's really nobody super important we need to talk about other than, like, cameos. I mean, obviously, David Grohl was a cameo. Zach Galifianakis was a cameo. Jim Parsons was the only cameo that was not announced prior to the movie coming out. It was kept very much under wraps, and it was adorable. I loved his cameo.
Sarah Silverman.
Yeah, Sarah Silverman. Donald Glover. We got it right this time. Thank you. And then other than that, there's just a bunch of random people. But the one main person I, of course, have to mention is Jack Black. Now, back in the Chucky movie, we said we saw Jack Black's doppelganger, but this one was, in fact, Jack Black. So, yes. Anyways, do you need anything you need to add to any of those things?
And this counts more as a Jack Black movie than a John Krasinski movie because he actually had speaking lines.
And it was also named the greatest Muppet movie in the world, and Jack Black's song is the greatest song in the world, so I just feel like it would have been amazing. Just saying. Anyways.
All right.
Not the point. Now we can talk about the plot.
Okay, where do you want to go from there? The plot?
Yes, darling. When I said I want to talk about the plot, I meant the plot.
Well, I don't know where to start.
Okay, so at the beginning of the movie, they, you see, like, them growing up together and whatever, which, I mean, it's weird. I don't really get it. I don't understand how...
Well, it's almost like an unhealthy dependence on his human brother. Often, like, throughout growing up, Gary is taking care of Walt.
Yes. So... I was trying to figure out how a lot of things worked in this movie, but at one point in the movie, the Muppet has like a fever dream, I guess we can call it.
Yeah, and he woke up in a cold sweat.
Yeah, it was like the beginning of the movie.
Which wants me to. Well, I want to ask: do puppets sweat? Is that a thing?
I was getting there. That was my note.
That was my note too. You can't monopolize my notes.
It was my note, but anyway, yeah. So I couldn't figure that out. Do they have pores? Because I don't think so. So I don't know. But anyways, he had like this weird fever dream. And then I was also confused by the whole, what's the difference between a Muppet and a puppet?
So, all Muppets are puppets, but not all puppets are Muppets? Yes.
I don't think that's...
I don't know a better definition or way to explain that.
Okay. Well, anyways, so after that, we basically see Jason Segal, talking to Amy, and we see, their
Mary.
little... Amy Adams, Mary in the movie. We see their little relationship. They're adorable together. And then we get our first musical number, basically. So he tells her that they're going to Hollywood to celebrate the 10th anniversary. They're taking his brother, very strangely. And then we have our first musical number of, like, everything is happy. And
yeah,
it's adorable. Like, I was bopping.
I did not know this was a musical movie.
I didn't either, but I was down for it.
Which I guess I should have figured because it's the Muppets, really.
Yeah, I mean...
I should have just been like, yeah, it's the Muppets. It's going to have music.
Right. Oh, and also, both Gary and Mary were list people, and I immediately identified with them.
List people.
Yeah, they, like, before the trip, they were like, I have my list. And he was like, I have my list too. And I'm like, oh, they're my people.
No. That's an atrocity.
It was adorable. I loved everything about that. Anyway, I'm trying to see what is important.
I just want to address the horrifying lie that they told children in this movie, where children are actually happy to study. They should be ashamed. That is not reality, and they are misrepresenting every bit of my experience growing up. I
don't have anything to say to that. Yeah, I have nothing to say to that because I actually enjoyed school, so... Anyway.
Of course you did.
So they go off to Hollywood and they see the Muppet Studio, and it is run down. It's just like a sad excuse for a tour. And it made me sad because it made me think of the state of the Muppets ride in Disney World. I don't know if there are more Muppets things around the world. I'm sure there are, but that's the only thing I've ever gone to. And it is pretty run down. It's one of the older attractions that are still around at Disney World. Hasn't really been renovated. And it makes me sad because it's something that was such a big part of our childhood, and it's really not that big anymore nowadays.
Well, they talk about it in the movie where they're all the way out on the outside of popularity. They're not a thing.
Right. And I mean, it's obviously very meta. They know the rise and fall of the Muppets. And I mean, I do think a big part of it is Jim Henson had passed, I think 1990, but I don't remember.
Yes, 1990.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's a big part of it, but it's just really sad. And it was kind of a nice thing to see, like, them turning that around.
Well, there was a lot of that where they were realizing that they're in a movie. They were poking fun at themselves in a playful way. Like, you're not popular. Who cares about the Muppets?
Right.
This is going to be a short movie.
Yes.
All of that was enjoyable.
I thought that was adorable. I love that they did that. So what they do is, once they realize that the place is all run down, Walter, which by the way is named after Walt Disney,
Yes.
goes and like wants to see Kermit's office, and he breaks in, which I guess they taught kids that breaking and entering is okay. I don't know. There's no repercussions for it in this movie.
You would also be that person to break into the Gilmore Girls studio.
Yes, I would, and I would not be ashamed. So how about we don't talk about it, because we are going to California in October, and we don't need the executives waiting for me wondering if I'm going to break in. Okay?
Yeah, because they listen to our podcast.
I mean, if they do, you want to hit me up with a ticket? Because it's expensive. Thanks. You girls broke. Anyway.
Shameless, darling. Shameless.
I have no shame. Anyway, so Walter hears that the person who is making a deal, which is Tex Richmond, which I guess rich in the name is supposed to be funny.
And Tex for oil, because Texas.
Oh, I was thinking Texaco. My bad.
Well, that's where Texaco is from, Texas. All of that.
Gotcha. Anyway, so they find out that he's not going to make a Muppets museum like he claims, but he is going to demolish the studio and drill for oil. So the only way out of it, according to the contract, is if the Muppets earn $10 million.
Right.
So he gets together with Kermit, and they decide to bring the gang back together, basically. And they go around and they start grabbing the gang. Right. So the one big one that I noted on here was Gonzo, because there's two problems with Gonzo here. So Gonzo's super rich. He's got a plumbing company.
Yeah.
So first thing is, why didn't Gonzo just, pay for it?
Or any of the 75 cameos from famous actors where they have more money than they know what to do with. And like, you know what, here's $10 million.
Right. Now, I think, obviously, it's because this is what all Muppets movies do. They have to save the studio, and this is how they do it. But it was just kind of like, he's rich, so, yeah. And then also, he mass killed a bunch of people, so we're just going to let that go.
They got out. They ran.
So we're playing the horror movie trope of if it's off-screen, they don't die type thing?
Exactly. You don't see anyone die.
But it doesn't mean they're not dead.
You can't prove that.
Okay, I'm just saying, the bomb went off, and there was
any person actually died.
I'm just saying, there's a lot of questionable things that they make it seem are okay in this movie that I'm just kind of,
Well, there were gunshots and police when they picked up Fozzie Bear.
Very true. So Fozzie Bear is basically like living in an alleyway, it seems like, and they show you could hear gunshots in the background, and that's when Kermit realizes that he's like living in a bad area, and I'm just like, okay, interesting.
Also, that 80s robot annoyed the hell out of me.
See, now that was popular on Reddit. People were saying how happy they were to see him. I don't remember him at all. I thought it was R2-D2. I'm not going to lie.
No, it's not R2-D2. It looks more like Wally, but I
thought it was just a super rundown version or something. Yeah. Like, I just didn't...
That dial-up sound in the car, no thank you. I don't want to go back to those days.
I don't blame you. Also, Miss Piggy was at Vogue, and Emily Blunt's character was a parody of her character in Devil Wears Prada, which was kind of funny. And of course, Miss Piggy works at Vogue, like,
of course
moi, so,
Yeah.
This seems perfect. At this point, my note was, okay, John Krasinski's wife is in it, so I guess I'm golden. Because at this point in the movie, I did not know that John Krasinski was in it.
Well, they also walk in after she says you can't go in without an appointment, and the next one is in September, and then they say, I have an appointment. That's not how appointments work. What are you talking about?
Like you would know.
No, I know how to set an appointment.
You just don't do it? Okay, thank you.
Exactly.
I'm glad that you admitted it on recording. Anyway... then so they have a meeting with like the TV executive to try to make the show happen now that they've gathered their gang together.
Yes, Rashida Jones.
I recognize her, but I can't place her. Can you tell me where she's from?
The Office.
Oh, that's why I recognize her, but can't place her. You guys will all hate me, but I have still yet to see more than like 2 episodes of The Office, and I hate myself for it. But then Netflix removed it. I've never seen Parks and Rec, so.
Okay.
In fairness, I haven't had cable in about 10 years, so.
I just want to take this moment to state for the record that I absolutely hate Miss Piggy's voice.
You good?
Just nails on a chalkboard.
See, she doesn't bother me, but she always reminded me of Fran Dresser, so.
I just hate it. Hate it so much. And then, what was that TV show, Punch Teacher?
Yeah, I wrote down, I need to know what Punch Teacher is making fun of, because I don't know.
I mean, personal story from my life, I memorized pi to 50 places so I could throw a pie in a teacher's face. So I totally get the wanting to treat your teachers poorly.
I'm not surprised about this at all. Like, this doesn't...
This was a thing that happened.
I mean, I had a crush on a majority of my teachers, so it was a very different dynamic for me.
Wanted to throw pies in their faces.
Well, I mean, do you. Live your best life, man. And then, they had the rendition of We Built This City.
With sausage rolls? Or on sausage rolls?
So that's Lad Baby. That's not Muppets. It's We Built This City on rock and roll. But we definitely sang sausage rolls while we watched it. And yes. I was very happy about it.
So Lad Baby, if you're listening.
Lad Baby isn't listening. And for anybody who doesn't know who Lad Baby is, they are UK YouTubers / Facebookers. And they're amazing. They're adorable and they're the cutest family ever. So if you need a laugh, go ahead and check that out.
Yes.
That's my plug for the day.
And they're obsessed with sausage rolls.
Yes. There is other songs, and one of which we will be getting to in the audience ask section because some questions about that.
And then I just want to say the off-brand Muppets were terrifying.
They really were. Like, I'm not really sure. So they had like these, it was like Miss Poogie and things like that.
And she was like
They were the Muppets, I think they were calling them.
Like the old grizzly biker girl person that has seen better days and just is a miserable person. The Fozzie Bear throwing gang signs. Waka Waka gangs.
Yeah, that was questionable at best. Yeah.
Just so many weird kind of thrown in things that kids are not going to understand.
Which I think they did that because they knew that they were pandering to a demographic of people who loved Muppets back in the day.
Right. They're taking their kids to see this movie and they have to sit through it, so they're throwing the parents a bone is what happens.
Well, exactly. So, I mean, I don't blame them for that. So, anyways, they end up going to perform, I guess we're at. Are we there? Yeah, so they end up going to perform and they do a lot of the classics, like Kermit's Rainbow Connection.
Right.
They do the Miss Piggy duet with Kermit. I can't remember the name of the song right now, but they do a lot of the classics. And then we see a lot of the celebrity cameos happen here. So there's like Selena Gomez, there's Whoopi Goldberg, there's Neil Patrick Harris, there's John Krasinski. There's just, I mean, a lot of people that show up to this thing.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. Like, it's just so adorable, and it just makes my heart happy that all these people signed on for this.
Well, it's weird because at the start of the movie, they're trying to find a celebrity to host, and they have to kidnap Jack Black, and then all of these celebrities just happen to show up at the end, which is kind of like a weird... Well,
so I think that what happened was they didn't know that there was going to be a success, and then when it started catching on, it was going to look good for these celebrities to show up, like PR-wise, to help save the theater.
Right.
So I think that's what happened. Also, we do, before we forget to mention it, we have to mention that the big orange Muppet looked like Trump. So I just have to say it if you guys haven't seen it.
The pig Muppet?
I don't know if he was a pig, but he had the hair, he had the whole thing. So if you guys haven't seen the movie and you're going to watch it because of us, just keep an eye out for that because...
Trump pig. Appropriate.
Yes.
Also, I want to talk about where he's talking about missing his 10-year anniversary dinner.
Uh-huh.
And he's like, I don't know what I could have done. Wait, what's today? Friday? Oh, yep, that's it.
Yeah, and when he says he means Gary is talking about
Gary realizes he's that oh God moment where he doesn't know what he's done, but then he figures it out and he goes, ah.
Right. So the only thing we didn't really kind of talk about plot point wise is Walter's kind of character arc. So at the beginning of the movie, he's kind of like struggling with who he is, and he wants to go see the Muppets, and he meets them, and Kermit offers to give him a role in basically being in the Muppets, but he needed to have a talent, and he couldn't find his talent, and he was kind of like trying to figure it out, and after talking to Gary, he realizes that he needs to kind of like make a choice as to what he wants to do. Does he want to be a man or a Muppet, which is a song that Jim Parsons is in. Right. And it's also the song that won an Academy Award for Best Original Song.
Right. Which,
it's an adorable song. It's wonderful. But so Gary kind of pushes through, and he is the final act of the show and does whistling, I believe.
Yes, whistling.
And he's very good at it. So how he didn't know that was his talent is kind of confusing. But it's a cute little character arc. It's cute to see him kind of like find himself and like believe in himself. I find that really adorable. But now we have to discuss the questionable ending.
Were they lost?
Yeah, so they lost. First of all, I don't know if they lost by $1 or like a lot more than that because it hit the thing and the number went down.
So after it adjusted,
yeah,
they were shy by $9 million.
Yeah, but
dollars.
I was confused as to why it adjusted. It was
because it was reading incorrectly. So it was taking the cents and making those dollars.
Oh, okay. See, I didn't pick up on why. I just was like, okay. Okay, so they were short.
A lot.
Yeah, and so the big oil man breaks in and he's like, ha ha ha, I win. And for some reason, the whole time I was like, Jack Black's gonna break out of his ropes and he's gonna come and he's gonna be like, I've been kidnapped by these guys, but I love them and they've shown true heart and like this whole thing. Like I expected this big like thing and it didn't happen.
No, it's very anticlimactic. The movie ended and then you see afterwards that he gets a brain injury that doesn't involve his head somehow and decides to not demolish the theater.
Yeah, Gonzo ends up throwing a bowling ball at him after not being able to throw a bowling ball.
And it kind of just cheapened the end of it was not
right.
good,
I mean,
not a good
Jack
ending.
Black really needed to like
something had to have happened where like somebody fishes around in their pocket for $1 and then they have the 10 million and be like ha, or just something just not head injury that didn't involve his head.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I was a little disappointed in the ending. I was also disappointed in the fact that when Jack Black is in the chair doing the barbershop quartet, which, did you see the controversy about that song?
The Courtney Love controversy?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, well, Courtney Love can go to hell.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
she's done
she
nothing
said,
of merit on her own, and she's been riding Kurt Cobain's coattails for literally forever.
Okay, so we never say anything controversial on this podcast. But anyway, she had some really negative things to say about the fact that they covered the Nirvana song, It Smells Like Teen Spirit. I'm not going to say the words she used because they were not nice at all. But she had some negative things to say. But
in reality, who cares what Courtney Love has to say?
Right, Dave Grohl was in the movie and he approved it, so
yeah,
bye.
No one cares what Courtney Love has to say about anything.
Well, okay. Anyway, my point was that in that part, Jack Black said, oh, this is the greatest song in the world or something like that. Why didn't he then start singing the greatest song in the world, which is his song? Like, I couldn't, like, this is a missed opportunity.
Not an appropriate song for a kid's movie, darling.
Yes, but neither is F you. Ooh, ooh, ooh. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, but there was no words, so they didn't have that. And it was just chickens clucking along to the
I know,
tune.
but they could have done Jack Black's song with just his weird noises he makes with his mouth. If they wanted to. Exactly.
Yep.
So, you know what I'm saying? Missed opportunity is all I'm saying. You have Jack Black, use him. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, so that's all I really got about the plot. I've got plenty about other things, but...
Alright, well, I have a couple random things that I can throw in there.
Okay, well, go ahead with your randos.
So, the reason the villain wanted to destroy the Muppets is because it was in the extended edition, bonus features, so forth, that he was a 10-year-old when they were originally on air, and people were at his birthday party and they were laughing, but he can't laugh. That's why he says maniacal laughter.
Annoying plot point.
Just aggravating. So he wanted to destroy them for destroying his childhood because he can't laugh.
I wish they had kept that in the movie because it would have at least made that annoying plot point make a little bit more sense.
So one of the people involved with this movie gave Jason Segal a note from one of the children that watched the early version of this, and there was a handwritten note attached to it saying, "This is just to keep you humble." And they asked the kid what they don't like about the movie, and they said his face.
Poor guy.
Ouch.
Yeah, that is kind of sad. I feel kind of bad for that.
So I don't have anything else other than that. I can go to History Minute or Audience Asks.
Well, there's a few things I wanted to mention. I mean, so after filming, Jason Segal got to keep the puppet that they made of him.
His puppet?
Yeah.
Of himself?
Yes. I also wanted to mention that although Frank Oz wasn't in this movie, he was the person who did most of the score for other Muppet movies, and we had talked about him previously in Little Shop of Horrors.
Yes.
So I wanted to bring that up. The person who did the score for this movie was Brett McKenzie, who is from Flight of the Conchords.
Yes.
The
And he
band.
also taught Mr. Cooper how to rap, which I wish he hadn't.
Right. Also, the day before the release of this movie, the Muppets received their star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
In front of the theater that they saved.
See, you have all these things, but you didn't mention them, so I'm just curious as to why.
I just didn't write it down.
Also, Jason Segal promised Craig Ferguson a cameo for this movie, but he never delivered it,
Yep.
so that's pretty horrible. We already talked about Alan Rickman. Let me see if there's anything else important in here. Oh, so for the marketing for this movie. So there's a bunch of parody trailers. Now, I wasn't able to find a lot of them, and one of them is named The Abnormal Activity. It's supposed to parody Paranormal Activity 3.
Right.
I looked it up on YouTube.
Not good?
No, it's not the right trailer. I watched it twice just to see if I missed anything. I don't know what that is. But that is not the Muppets trailer, so if anybody can find that one, send it to me, because I had to watch this horrible B-movie trailer a lot. The only one I could find was the romantic comedy one that I sent to you, which played before Pirates of the Caribbean. So Kermit appeared at the Pirates of the Caribbean premiere, and that romantic comedy parody trailer played before. So basically their marketing strategy was to parody a bunch of movies. So they parodied Twilight, they parodied A Paranormal Activity. They parodied Happy Feet.
Well done. Smart move on their part.
Yeah, like, and it's very Muppet-esque. It definitely fit the Muppets. So if you guys have any of those parody trailers, any of them, I would love to see them, because I think that's super fun and interesting. There was one other thing I wanted to mention.
I want to talk about the Miss Piggy sister moment where she says to the fake Miss Piggy, "Listen here, pause, awkward pause, sister." And we had a different opinion on this. I thought she was intending to say a curse word. Mm-hmm. You thought she was
she was making a comment on the gender.
Yeah.
I don't know which way it was, but either way, it was a questionable thing to happen in a kid movie. And definitely a questionable thing to happen in 2019 for dang sure.
Also, there's that one scene with Amy Adams and the Thesaurus. And for the record...
What are you trying to say? Where are you going with this?
You are that person.
You are not
100% that person.
I am not that person. So what she does in that scene...
Alone.
...is she reads the Thesaurus to find different ways to say alone. Because she's basically making a point to her boyfriend that he has left her alone on their 10th anniversary. So she's using as many words as she can to say alone.
Yes, and you are that person. You are 100% that person.
Whatever. Whatever. Anyways, I can't find the other thing I want to talk about, so that's fine. But you have a history minute.
Tyler's History Minute.
Yes. So we talked about Jim Henson a little bit when we did Dark Crystal, because he's also involved in that. And we are going to talk about Jim Henson again when we do Labyrinth, I'm sure.
I'm sure, but he won't be your history minute then.
No. So Jim Henson created the Muppets, and it was originally Sam and Friends back in like the 1960s, I believe.
Huh.
And he used Muppets to sell coffee.
He used Muppets to sell coffee.
Yes. So they could do things with puppets that they couldn't do with people because it was too violent.
Oh.
So it's like cartoons, like Looney Tunes and other things where you can get away with the dropping an anvil on someone's head and all of that stuff.
Right.
So they did that to sell coffee.
Interesting. It's funny that they used it for adult content and it became a kids thing. Just like, I guess, like Dr. Seuss did with his books. It was adult content and then became kids.
Right. Also, at the start of the movie, he mentions Turkey's definitely a country. Mm-hmm. I don't know if anyone knows where Turkey comes from or the name, but it comes from the Ottoman Turks that invaded what is now no longer the Byzantine Empire and destroyed them.
Always something with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all I got.
Okay, so before we move into Audience Ask, I did want to mention that the Muppets did recently-ish come out with a TV show. Originally, I think it was plugged at the end of the movie, but it was weird. What I read about the whole plugging, I don't know if it was.
Well, they wanted to put in and we're gonna have a TV show on ABC, but then Disney said no, you're not doing that. Nice try.
Right. So I don't know if the TV show was already announced by then or what the case was. But anyway, there was a TV show. I watched it. It was much more adult than this. So it received a lot of mixed reviews. People weren't very happy with the fact that it was adult content. I think it only had one season, to be honest. But I wanted to know, did you see the Muppets show at all?
No.
It was funny, but it was definitely not what I would have expected from the Muppets. So regardless, that's the last time I know of the Muppets being on the big screen. Well, on a screen.
Yeah.
That's new. So maybe they'll come back. I don't know.
They will come back at some point.
I'd be down for it. I'm ready. Let's have a new Muppets.
Yeah. Okay, so Audience Asks then.
Okay, geez, somebody's moving me along. Okay, so Audience Asks.
35 minutes.
Well, it is what it is.
Audience Asks.
Okay, so this is the warning I'm giving you guys now. This is very inappropriate. So if you have kids listening, please make them stop now. Okay. So Steve Ross asked us, I believe he's actually from a podcast. He's from Dregs of Craigs. And he asked, is the song Me Party considered masturbation?
I did think that originally, but then after you said that while we were watching the movie, that's all I could see.
And also, Amy Adams sung it in a diner, which very much harkened to When Harry Met Sally's orgasm scene. I'm just saying. I don't know if it was intentional, but I'm just saying.
Maybe that's one of the other things that they threw in for the parents of the children watching this movie.
Yes. So, to answer your question, Steve, yes, would be my answer. Yes, it is. It is, in fact, a euphemism.
You, in the middle of watching this movie, said, oh, I understand that question now.
Because it made way more sense. At first, I thought it was honestly somebody, like, trolling on Twitter, because that happens a lot. And I'm like, ugh, why did somebody say something like that? I'm so glad I didn't respond with a snarky comment like I normally do, because it was a sincere question, and it was valid. So, thank you, Steve, and I'm sorry for my initial reaction. Okay. So, let's see. I want to give you a good one. Actually, you know what? What Bill and Frank eat...
I want to give you a good one. Never mind. Quality is not important.
No, actually, I'm just curious about your answer to this one. So, Bill and Frank Eat Pop Culture asked, what's the best cameo in the movie? Why do you have that face?
I don't know. Honestly. There's so many just random added cameos that were fantastic. Like,
I mean, I obviously have to pick John Krasinski because...
it saves you from having to wipe egg off your face?
Yes. But my original answer was going to be Nev Schulman from Catfish, but it's not him. I don't know who that guy is. I looked on IMDb for a very long time, and it's not him, so I don't know who that guy is. Just some random
person that
yeah, so if you guys know who the blue guy is in the dance scene at the end of the movie, like he's like near the front, he's like got a blue shirt on and looks like Nev Schulman, like let me know, because I've tried to find him, I can't find him.
I would have to say Jack Black.
Jack Black.
It's an actual cameo where he has speaking lines and he appears on screen for more than a few minutes and he's actually moderately funny.
And Jack Black's amazing. Like, he's good in everything he does.
Gulliver's Travels was terrible.
I have not seen it. Well, should I be thankful for that?
Yes.
Okay.
It'll destroy your opinion of Jack Black.
Okay, then. All right, so that's all I've got. So we should move into ratings.
Reviews.
What was that shimmy that you just did? She's waving her arms and dancing in her chair.
I'm singing the songs in my head while I'm doing the podcast.
All right, so we can do ratings. Rotten Tomatoes has it at 95.
Good for Rotten Tomatoes. They know a good movie when they see it.
Audience score has it at 80.
Okay, well, the audience can just...
I'm going to give it an 8.
I am appalled. take your childhood and go.
Well, you said it was your brother's childhood who's older than we are. So it was...
So it was your hair's childhood. Anyway, do you have a reason?
I'll give it an 8.25. Well, the ending just killed it. Like, it was great. Surprisingly good for the whole movie. And then the ending just kind of crap.
I have to agree with that. I was going to give it a 9, and I love the music. I love the nostalgia, all of that.
Music nostalgia was fantastic, just the ending.
Yes, the ending terrible. Really... Jack Black needed to come out and confront him.
Somebody needed just $1 and be like, here's $1.
Well, I needed the Jack Black scene. I just had it in my head this was going to happen. I was ready, and it didn't. And it was a letdown to me. And also, it needed to happen to show that the kidnapping thing wasn't as bad as it looked, because they've promoted murder by bombing. They've promoted kidnapping. They've promoted a lot of things. Oh, and just as an FYI, since we're talking about all the terrible things that they promoted in this movie, Kermit was originally supposed to be, like Tex Richmond was supposed to be Kermit in disguise. And it was going to be revealed at the end of the movie that it was Kermit all along, and he did it to get the Muppets back together.
Even worse of an ending.
Well,
that would have been worse.
They vetoed it because they decided that children wouldn't understand Kermit lying. But they apparently understand that they are going to kidnap and they're going to bomb people to kill them, and that Fonzie lives near drive-by shootings. I'm just saying. Just saying.
They did not kill anyone in this movie. Even Tex got thrown off the roof and was fine. Although he suffered a brain injury afterwards.
That's after he got hit by a bowling ball. Which
chest.
Is okay too, apparently. So I mean, I have no problems with it because I don't have any children, but I'm just saying, just a little weird. But anyway, so I gave it a 9. Okay. So we're done with that. So now you have to tell everybody what next week's movie is, which is the first week in August, and we won't be pre-recording anymore. Woo!
So it's going to be one from the infamous list.
Oh yeah, the list that we really, really need to like whittle down.
Yeah, it's going to be Burying My Ex, which is a zombie comedy.
Yeah, so I'm sorry that it's a zombie movie. I know we do a lot of them.
We've done like 2 of them.
Okay, but I told him it had to be not deep, so he listened. So it's going to be fun. We've not seen it, and it looks really fun, and I don't think it's super popular. So back to the movies that y'all have never seen that you get mad at us for.
Back to the movies that no one has ever seen. Yep, that's it. And then at some point, we're going to get to another movie that is zombie-related that I want to see, but we'll get to that at a later time.
Oh, boy. He's been talking about it forever, so stay tuned, folks. Anyways, so if you guys want to reach out to us outside the podcast, you can reach out to me on Twitter at cinematicallyc, or Tyler on Twitter at blametylercc, or email us at cinematicallycorrect@gmail.com. I also wanted to plug, because we don't normally, but if you guys leave us ratings on iTunes, it helps other people find us, and we haven't asked in a very long time. But it would be super helpful to us to do that. And that's about it for us. So thank you to Jake and Alice's Music for intro and outro music. And we'll be back next week with Burying My Ex.